Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Shiko Talk podcast. This is Shiko. This episode is a continuation of the Australian Grand Prix talk that we had last week. I'm joined again by Peter. Hi, Peter. Welcome back. So, picking up from where we left off last week, do you think Mercedes will copy something from Red Bull? Because Aston Martin did it and they're having a good season. Can Mercedes copy? Because I saw Toto walking back and forth the back of the car. I'm like, Do you think they copy Red Bull's design? Or what do you think? Or are they just confident with their car design and will not change anything?
For as long as I've known Mercedes, Mercedes is not a team to do what others are doing. Mercedes has always been in the lead of innovating. The problem is definitely losing Allison, like James Allison moving on to another job has really affected our car development. Then you can see it in the last 2 years. Those are the 2 years that he's not been involved in the developing of the car, the project for the cars. But I'm sure whatever they are coming up with, they must be confident that it's going to work. Definitely, we have more testing time than the Ferraris and the Red Bull, so they'll take more time to test those designs. I would imagine the other thing that I'm at least happy about, we have a good engine. If you look at Williams, over the whole weekend, Williams was on the tops of the speed traps. They are either second to Red Bull or first. So we have like the second fastest engine, and you can see Alonso using that engine the way they are performing very well. Definitely we have the engine. Now it's just to have the car to maximize on that power.
Actually, talking about Williams, Albon was having a great weekend.
Until he crashed. He was
Imagine! It was I saw him go to the gravel and hit the wall and I was like, no. He was good. Quali, he did well, got a good position for start of the race. I mean, he was having a good race until that unfortunate incident and just took him out of the race.
When he crashed, it was P6 or P7 because Hulk was the one who was behind him. And Quali, remember, he went to Q3 with the Williams.
So, imagine. So let's talk about Checo. Wow, starting from P20. This guy can drive. I mean, this race was the Red Bull sandwich, like in real sense. Max on P1, Checo on P20. I mean, you keep telling me that Checo is not championship material, but look at his driving.
Checo's story is very interesting. On Saturday, we woke up to FP3. Checo, I think, had the worst session ever. He has ever had.
I remember.
He kept on crashing. He kept on going off track. He kept everything bad just happened. There was a setup issue with the car. Affected him going to quali, so he didn't even make to Q2. So then they made a lot of changes. I think they also changed. I can't remember whether they changed the engine. So he started on the pit lane. Regardless, that guy is something else. That guy is something.
But he's also a good driver.
He's a good driver.
Because getting all those overtakes, it requires some sort of skill, and he avoided incidences. So I don't know if he was lucky or he's just has a knack for doing a good race.
And you notice something. If the race was restarted, Checo would have started at P4, I think.
Oh, okay. So if they didn't change the order back, okay, that's interesting.
He was that top. He had come up to those levels, and he avoided that chaos of the many cars there.
So talking about restart positioning, Nico the Haas team was very angry about that last restart when they changed the restart position to what it was earlier. You remember? They were not happy about it because it bumped Nico back a bit.
Yeah. So Nico, because after Alonso and Sainz crashed, Stroll and Nico initially got out of it, and then Stroll went off track. in the next corner. So Nico was supposed to be on the podium.
I remember that's why Haas was angry about the decision to change or rather to revert the positions. What was the reason they gave for that?
So the reasoning is this: you have to make sure that for you to determine the order of all the cars, not just the top cars, all the cars. The last car must have at least passed 1 millisector. But
so that means the last car. It doesn't matter if all the rest of the cars have passed it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So after the crash, it stopped I think the Williams. I think it's either the Williams or I can't remember which cars were at the back. So they didn't get to that millisector. They didn't finish that. They were in the middle of that millisector. That millisector, I think, just ends at turn 3.
Oh, that was unfortunate for him. Yeah, that was unfortunate for him.
They determine the time. Like you can't say this guy is here, this guy is here, this guy is here. So you have to go back to the last consistent state, which is at the start of the race. So at how they started. So unfortunately, that's what happened.
Yeah, and Haas was pretty angry because their other driver also had a DNF, so they were hoping that Nico will give them some good points.
Yes, and the other thing, they were unlucky there, but Nico had a good weekend. Generally, they should be proud of that. He got his first points of the season, I think.
Did you see him ditch the car after the checkered flag?
I wonder what happened there, because that issue was not even discussed. Because, after you finish a race, you have to make sure that you have enough fuel for samples, else you are disqualified from the race. So maybe they felt, I wouldn't imagine they did.
So you think it wasn't something serious? They were just trying to be smart about something.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. He's not new to F1, right?
He's not new to F1.
Yeah.
Nico has a story with Hamilton. Apparently, Brown was saying that if he didn't get Hamilton to Mercedes, he was going to get Nico. So Nico was that highly rated.
So that's why he can pull what he pulled in Melbourne, because I wasn't there when he was in F1, or rather I wasn't a fan when he was in F1. So that's why I was wondering, like, which year was he in F1?
He was not like, the problem is, like, guys like Nico, Grosjean, they didn't have the resource, they didn't have the cars to show their talent, but they were good drivers. Like, you see someone like K-Mag. K-Mag is a very good driver. K-Mag, I think, got a podium in his F1 debut. And that season, he was so good. I think he was in McLaren. He was very good. Same thing with Grosjean. The first season, he was so good. But if you look at the seasons that we know Grosjean, like the times that Grosjean has been popularized, is when he was crashing to other people. Same thing with K-Mag. They were crashing to each other. But there's another thinking that I've always had. Maybe they had cars that were below their capacity. They are trying to push them. They are trying to push them beyond their limit. So the cars kept on crashing. I'll never know about someone like Latifi, because I've not seen Latifi drive a competitive car. Latifi came to F1 when Williams were looking for money, and the dad had money. So, but we've never seen his talent.
So I'm there to see what Nico has this season. So talking about this crash, it says who caused the crash, but he wasn't happy about the penalty. Do you think the penalty was fair?
I don't think it was fair.
Why?
You know why? I think it was a racing incident because it was on the first turn. But if you are giving him, even if they gave him a penalty, I think it should have been a great position penalty, not a 5 seconds penalty, considering that the race ended on a safety car, which means that the cars were within seconds of each other. Sainz, after being given the penalty, he ended up in P12. And if you compare the P12 in Saudi, P12 was like plus 50 seconds behind P4. So that's where I feel like that's one of the points that you can say like he was disadvantaged because it seems like he was penalized plus 10 times
Mm.
the penalty that was given.
But I like what you said, that he should have been given a grid penalty, not
A great penalty.
not a 5 second penalty, because he was like bumped too far down the grid because of that.
Yeah, like all the cards were stacked together. They were
Yeah.
within
So I think
one and number two and number three.
your view about the grid penalty, I would agree with that, but everyone has their view on that. But unfortunately, so Ferrari didn't get any points. He was the only hope for Ferraris to get a point in Melbourne.
If you look at that car, if you look at how Sainz's performance was, regardless of his his failure to pass Pierre earlier, but regardless, like they had a good car. I think they had a good car this weekend compared to Bahrain and Saudi.
Yeah, and he was doing some great overtakes.
He was doing, yeah, he had done some great overtakes, and even like we said in the last episode, he did the overtake of the he did the overtake of
The dummy overtake, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
like that was
it was
something you don't
yeah,
see
it was
often.
cool. So let's go to Lando, and McLaren had a beautiful race in Melbourne.
Honestly, to be honest, I was surprised. I was surprised by their performance.
Mm-hmm.
Considering the problems that they had coming into this race, that they experienced during the FPs, like the small issues, I didn't expect them to perform as good as they did. And,
They came into this race with 0 points. That's what we were
0
talking about.
points.
We were like, oh, where is McLaren in this F1 this season? But at least I'm happy they were able to do whatever they did during that week. And I'm liking what Oscar is doing, because being such he's the youngest driver on the grid currently. I think today is his birthday, so happy birthday to him. But can you imagine being 22 years old and you're on the biggest motorsport competition in the world? That must be something.
At the pinnacle of sporting, the
Imagine.
pinnacle of motorsporting. The thing is, if you want to put in context how good the McLarens were this weekend, Lando now I think has the same number of points with Leclerc.
don't even go back to Charles, because I mean, whoa. Like one race can change everything. That's why we never even know who's gonna win until it's like at the almost the near end of this season, because one race can actually really change everything. But I'm glad about the McLaren. So Red Bull is conquering new fronts. I mean, Max's first win in Australia. I mean, is Max unstoppable this season?
The thing is, he would be, if he wins the championship this year, he would be the first person to, I think, in many years to undo the curse. Like every person who wins the first race always loses the championship.
Okay, so if you win the first race in Bahrain, it's like you won't ultimately win the championship.
Even
okay,
when it was in Australia.
But do you feel that Max is unstoppable this season?
He will be at some point.
Yeah, because he has the car and he's also a good driver. So I was looking at the post-race interviews, and I think there was somewhere he was saying, why was the safety car going so slow? I mean, the safety car is supposed to go slow. So I was like, Max, what's up with you? Do you think he's an impatient driver? He wants things fast.
If you look at Max, one thing, Max is one of the most egocentric people you'll ever find in this world. Max thinks about himself, and Max is about him winning. He has to always be optimized to win. The rules have to work for him. The strategy has to be working for him. Everything, the conditions have to be working for him.
I think so. In life, we have people like that, and in some instances, their character is what fuels them to win, which might
Mm,
not work for somebody else. So whatever he's
exactly.
doing, so I think so long as he's winning, he's okay, and Red Bull is okay. So let's go
Yes.
to Bottas. I mean, he's won in Melbourne before, but this this race he wasn't, or rather he didn't do well.
This race was not his race because one, he started in the pit lane,
Mm-hmm,
so that was already an issue.
mm-hmm,
And then his car, I think right now he can rank it as either the second or the third slowest car in the track.
mm-hmm.
So he can't, even if you're making headways, he can't make headways to top tens.
But should Mercedes have kept them as their second driver?
I don't think so.
The move was okay.
The move was okay in 2021 when Hamilton was fighting for the championship.
Mhm,
There are many instances that Bottas would have helped Hamilton,
mhm,
but somehow Bottas didn't have the fighting capabilities or spirit.
mhm,
I feel like we made the right choice. Maybe we
mhm.
made it 1 year later.
Or
If we
later.
made it in 2020, coming to 2021, I think it would have made a big difference in
Mm,
what happened in 2021. Because in 2020,
mhm,
that race in Sakia when Hamilton missed the race and Russell used raced for Hamilton,
mhm,
and Russell actually performed somehow better than Bottas.
mhm.
Like Russell had one of the passes of the race versus Bottas, and I looked at that and thought, this is the driver we want in Mercedes.
Oh, okay. So speaking about his teammate Zhu, he has the superstar look, but do you think he can drive?
The one thing I think he need to do is know how to work as a team member.
Mhm. So you
When you
think
learn that,
Zhu is still learning to work as a team member?
yeah,
Okay.
he has the skills. Definitely, that's a reason why he's in F1. Yeah,
Yeah.
like you're among the top 20 drivers in F1 for you to be there.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that he needs to do is now learn how to optimize the team's performance, because especially for the lower ranking teams,
Mm-hmm.
individual performances are not always the best.
Mm-hmm.
But even when like a Ferrari is looking for a driver from their customer teams, they look at a driver who is optimizing the team's performance, not that a person who is optimizing individual performance. And I feel like if you focus on that, you always increase your chances of succeeding.
Talking about the other alphas, Alpha Tauri. So
Mm,
Yuki is joined with Nick this season. So Yuki was able to survive the incidences. Do you think he's a careful driver? Because they were showing his dash view, and he like seemed to evade every other incident. So
I think
is he one a good, or rather a good teammate, and two, is he a careful driver?
he has learned his lessons.
Hmm?
I think he's a very good driver, but he has also learned his lessons. Remember last year, he
Mhm.
was always caught up in all the incidents. Every time there's an incident, Yuki is there. Like he's not in control of his emotions.
So
And
you're
like
saying
especially,
he's technically grown, and he's learned to handle things better.
yes,
That's why he could be able like to avoid such a crazy incident. What about
yes.
Nick?
I think Nick still needs some time.
Mm-hmm.
Nick is dealing with a lot of as- an aspects of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Nick was one of the champions in Formula E. And
Mm-hmm.
actually, when we speak about for FIA champions,
Mm-hmm.
Nick was the first Dutch FIA champion. In Formula 2, Nick outperformed most of these guys in Formula 1 currently.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very good driver. but he didn't get time to. He's like a rookie. This is a rookie year.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't judge him because he's still adapting to how Formula One works. Before, like last year, he was a reserve
Yeah, he
driver for
was the
Mercedes.
reserve driver, but
Doesn't mean that he understands how
yeah,
being the main driver in the car works.
yeah.
So right now he's a main car.
So he needs to
main car driver.
understand the he needs to understand the work that goes into being an actual F1 driver.
Formula One driver.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
And I can show you.
I saw Ricardo was in Melbourne. So I love Ricardo. He's one of the people who made F1 let's quote
Fun.
unquote famous because of the Drive to Survive. So he was saying he's coming back. He might come back as a driver. What do you think?
I think these guys are going to throw Perez under the bus. I honestly think that.
Oh, so you think he might go to Red Bull?
That's my
Oh,
thinking.
wow. That's an interesting twist because I thought he would go to another team, but not necessarily Red Bull.
Red Bull, okay, let me tell you one of my reasoning. Max has the longest contract Formula One has ever seen, up to 2028 for Red Bull. Even Mercedes don't give drivers such a long contract. Up to 2028. You can imagine when 2028 is.
Yeah.
So, do you think they gave Max such a long contract to bring a better driver than him?
I can't miss an opportunity to also talk about this F1 calendar, right? So I saw somewhere that the F1 Academy synced their calendar to the F1 calendar. So, you know, the F1 Academy is an initiative of the F1 to make sure that more women find room in motorsport and F1. So do you think that's a good move?
Honestly, I don't think it's the right move.
Oh, okay.
You know why? Do you know why? Right now we have a female driver in Formula 3, but we don't speak about her. And we had Susie Wolf was the first woman to drive a Formula One car, and it's never spoken about. It always feel like they do those moves to just show that they care, not like they are doing. They actually want to bring a female driver to Formula One.
I think there's a problem with that. But
we have W Series.
But W Series is not for done by F1.
W Series is a thing. Okay, it's not done by F1. F2 is not done by F1, I think. So it's within that motorsport journey of someone starts there, they grow towards there. There's this lady called Chadwick. She won Formula 2 for I think 3 consecutive years.
I know her, Jamie. I know her.
She can't race again because when she races, it's just for nothing. She's not going to get more license, those super license points to race in Formula 1. So it's not even worth racing there. And she has beaten everyone. So if you want to create opportunities for women, just create a fair journey for them to get to Formula 1. We are almost at the end of our interview. So we have talked about all the teams and all the drivers and who's doing well, who's not, what to expect. So let's have your Baku top 3 podium finishes. I think Mercedes will have good development then. So I'll put Mercedes P2. That is Hamilton. I think Mercedes will have to continue optimizing Hamilton. I'll put Russell P3 for him to recover from what happened in Melbourne. And I'll put Max P1. Then I'll put... So we have... So the podium finishes are Max, Hamilton, then Russell, right? Russell, so Baku is the next race, right? Yes. So you don't think Ferrari would have solved their issues? They may have, but everything will have developed. Yeah. So thank you for your time, Peter. Much appreciated.
Hope to speak to you again.
I hope also to speak to you again, and I'm looking forward to Baku.
Yeah.
I think this season will be very interesting. It's a very long season.
Okay. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for joining me. Thank you all for joining us for this episode. A reminder to subscribe, to like, and share all my videos. Follow me on all my accounts at Shiko Talk. Have a great day and see you all in Baku. God bless.